And I'm back on the line, not alone, but also joined by the one and only, making a second appearance, official appearance, excluding TNA teleconferences, Mr. Jim Cornette. Jim, are you with us?
Oh, that's right. We did a TNA teleconference at one time also.
We did, yep.
I forgot. I did the show, but we also did the teleconference, and we talked about what a joy that was.
Did you not like doing those teleconferences back in the day?
Well, no, it was such a fountain of information.
It was, yeah, there was a lot coming at you at once. I always thought it was funny, though, because there was no qualifications required to be part of those. So, like, you got guys arguing with Sting that he was a booker, even though you kept telling them that he wasn't.
I know, they just let anybody in. It's sort of like Dixie's hiring policy now.
Oh, man. Ooh. So you've got a big weekend coming up. Actually, you got a big week coming up. You got OVW TV tapings coming up tomorrow night, and I believe it's Friday night. Kayfabe Commentaries is going to be honoring you with a bunch of people saying nasty things about you for a couple of hours, and
actually, I don't know how they've managed to get people to buy tickets to that, because that's such a common everyday occurrence. Really, it happens constantly. So,
oh man, well, it's got to be. I mean, I'm looking at this dais, and you got people like Al Snow on there. You got Missy Hyatt. You got quite a few people. Bob Holly coming on as well. Are you worried about anything any of these people have up their sleeve to say to you?
No, actually, most of these, I've never seen such an amazing gathering of people who are unemployed and actually have no self-respect about what they do for a payoff. This is going to be the most star-studded event since, actually, there's no stars. So, no. let them do what they will, because I have information on each and every one of them. But the epicenter of wrestling comedy will be in Monroe, and I found out now Monroe, New Jersey is apparently, this is an exit off the New Jersey Turnpike. It's in the middle of nowhere, a hotel built apparently on a landfill near a toxic waste dump. So the wrestling fans and these former superstars are now going to be ensconced together in this facility to not only skewer me on Friday night, but also for the Legends of the Ring convention. I'm going to be there with my Cornette's Collectibles booth. I understand I'm part of the super ticket. Whatever that may entail, I'm part of it. I'm right in the middle of everything, stuck in the middle with everyone.
Very good, very good. It's a busy week then. I forgot about the Legends of the Ring convention as well. I didn't even think about that being there.
Midnight Express books, Jim Cornette videos, Rookie Year DVD sets, amazing merchandise will be able to be had at my booth.
Very cool, and that's, again, in Monroe, New Jersey, so it should be a very interesting weekend. And
I'm really looking forward to it, because, in all seriousness, the folks at Kayfabe Commentaries, they really do a fantastic job on these things. Mm-hmm. Their shoot interviews and different guest booker series, different types of releases. They put so much work into, and I enjoy doing stuff with them. Of course, Sean Oliver could have got me a lineup. I mean, there's been more Stars the Police lineup in Monroe, New Jersey than they have at the roast. So I will have some fun at everyone's expense.
There you go. And last time you joined us, you were just getting back in the swing of things with ROH, and you had a quote that I wanted to kind of run off you and see if this is something you were able to obtain. You said you wanted to bring ROH 80s logic with wrestlers that were born in the 80s. You feel you've managed to accomplish that in ROH?
Well, I think we're headed in the right direction. I'm really pleased all summer. The guys at the top of Ring of Honor the Kings of Wrestling have become such an amazing tag team, had tremendous matches. And the Briscoes have been re-energized. And Roderick Strong has torn the house down. Tyler Black and Davey Richards in June in Toronto. Davey Richards overall this year has had an amazing year in the ring, and but more these guys are growing up. Christopher Daniels, the old pro, the veteran. These guys are really growing into becoming unique superstars and personalities, as well as guys that are having great matches. I'm really excited. Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin coming into the tag team picture in Ring of Honor. Absolutely. There's so many dream matches now that can be had. We really are Homicide coming back. How can I forget that?
There you go.
So, I've really enjoyed the summer and going into the fall, and looking forward to winter and spring with all these dream matches that Ring of Honor has been able to bring to the fans.
That's excellent. And I think, everybody here watches basically any bit of wrestling that we can get our hands on. Old, new, doesn't matter. And, Ring of Honor has been one of the brighter spots that we've been talking about of late because there's just been some good stuff happening, whereas in the rest of the business it seems to be lacking any kind of real presence, anything that you remember. So I think we would all agree that ROH is definitely heading in what we would say the right direction is as fans. Would you agree with that, guys?
It's the only pro wrestling product. If you want to watch sports entertainment, you can find it on Spike or on USA, but if you want to watch professional wrestling, Ring of Honor is your alternative. And, these guys have really brought it on over the past year. And, there's been some new talent added. We've got a lot of high hopes for the prodigy, Mike Bennett. This guy was scouted and touted and recruited, and everybody at every camp and every scout said the same thing. Sign Mike Bennett. So we think he's going to be a player. But at the same time, this is the first time he's been seen outside his backyard in Boston. So it'll be interesting.
Really?
James, to kind of get to your point, I would actually disagree with some of the points that Ring of Honor's been the bright spot this past year. I would actually say that I would argue that the TV title hasn't been booked well. I would actually kind of like to know why, instead of doing an actual feud for that belt, Eddie Edwards has just been towing the line, doing 10-minute squash matches, and I also kind of want to know why the Briscoe brothers have seemingly had nothing but tag title shots all year. I mean, we started last year with the Briscoes losing the belts, and now they've got a full year of feuding with the Kings of Wrestling.
Oh, but you're so gloomy, Gus. Because when you look at it this way, the Briscoes at the Big Bang in Charlotte, the first time for Ring of Honor in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Internet pay-per-view, had a tremendous match with the Kings of Wrestling. And the fans wanted to see it again, so they had a rematch in Toronto, different place, but on Internet pay-per-view again. And in a completely different match, the Bloodbath, what a brawl. They tore the house down again, put up a Match of the Year candidate. So we said, okay, we're going to have this on television because so many fans have said they love seeing the Briscoes, the Kings of Wrestling, and we had it on TV, and they had another great match. But now the Briscoes don't get any more shots at the tag team title because they had 3 and they lost 3. Right, and as far as, what else were you gloomy about? Wait a minute, I've lost track now.
Uh-oh. Well, I mean, you say that they don't get another shot.
Eddie Edwards and the TV title. And as a matter of fact, I agree with you because a lot of fans said the same thing about the 10-minute hunt. That's why at the last TV tapings, we abolished the 10-minute hunt, and Eddie defended against not only Kenny King, but also Rhett Titus, and has got major title defenses coming up on television and at the Internet pay-per-view, because that is television as well. And we're actually putting the TV title on the line in Toronto as part of the big triple main event at the next live event there. So we've addressed all your concerns.
Right, but you
can be gloomy no more.
Uh-oh. Let's see.
But you say the Briscoes no longer have shots of the ROH TV title, the World Tag Team titles, yet the Internet pay-per-view, you just announced that it's going to be the Briscoes teaming with their father, who I don't believe is even a trained wrestler, versus the Kings of Wrestling and Shane Hagedorn, their manager. Yet, on the other side, there are other get a shot. I mean, the All Night Express, from what I understand, Ring of Honor just stopped using the Dark City Fight Club, and, the American Wolves.
Well, the six-man at Final Battle, I'll stop you before you meander further. The six-man at Final Battle actually is something that most everybody wants to see because Papa Briscoe, who's not a trained wrestler, I think that's part of the appeal, is going to whoop up on Shane Hagedorn, and we think that it'll sell tickets and pay-per-views. So, therefore, we're giving people the big match at Final Battle in New York.
Very cool. And Final Battle would probably lead you to believe that it is going to be the final battle. So that should sum it up, I think.
That's actually why we named it that type of thing, because Steen and Generico are going to have a final battle. The Briscoes, the Kings, are going to have a final battle.
There you go.
There's a lot of people on the card that are trying to make this the final battle. The Davey Richards wants this to be his final match before he wins the world title. So I think 2010 is going to wrap up interesting.
Very cool, very cool. And tomorrow night, I mentioned earlier, you're going to be part of an OVW TV taping. And actually, I wanted to ask you a question about that because I've been trying to get in contact with good old Rip Rogers. And is he still part of ROH? What's wrong with me? OVW?
The other alphabet soup. Yeah, the hustler Rip Rogers. He'll be a part of OVW until he crumbles into dust, which
might not be that far away. Yeah, I got it.
I think it'll be cockroaches and Rip Rogers that inherit the earth. But yes, he still is part of the training program and trains the class. Nick Dinsmore lives here in Louisville, Eugene, and trains the class.
Yeah. And he's going to be a part of your roast as well this coming weekend, too.
Exactly, and he's had material on me for the past 10 years.
Uh-oh.
And we've got a lot of young kids at OVW that we're looking at giving a break to, and as well as bringing in some of the better independents that we've talked to from around the area and kind of juice OVW back up. The TV is looking better and sounding better, and we're having fun with it.
Very cool. Now, I know you want to get off here pretty soon because I know you got an episode of House to catch up on, but I wanted to ask you one question that has nothing to do really with anything you have your hands in. But last time we were kind of beating up on TNA a little bit, and I'm sure you heard what that they were building towards for quite a while was, and I wanted to get your take on that. Well,
actually, I'll be honest, the events the past couple of days I've been real busy because the roast is coming up, and we've had Ring of Honor business and OVW. I forgot that Sunday was 10-10-10 until Monday when I saw in the news people were talking about yesterday was 10-10-10. And so I didn't even know the pay-per-view had taken place, and then I had time to read on the Internet that somebody that was thinking they were somebody's friend turned on, there's Hogan and Bischoff's upside. I don't know whose side these people are on. They've switched back and forth to the point where now they've got another faction, and I guess Jeff and Hogan and who's fucking Dixie? We don't know. Can anybody keep track of this?
You think I think that's a fair assessment. That it just seems like it's the Lex Luger effect. You don't know what side half the guys are coming from half the time.
Yeah, once again, there's a lot of people. Somebody whacked Jeff Hardy again, but also whacked Mr. Anderson, right?
And it was all actually trying to turn Jeff Hardy heel. That's one of the big
that's right. We'll see. That's how much it registers because this happens constantly. It's the NWO all over again. Shock people. Whose side are they on? They render people meaningless because you don't know whose side people are really on from one week to the next. And Russo has never understood this and never will.
Oh, boy.
And as a result, when people can't keep track of it, they don't care about it. And when they don't care, they don't invest their time or their money in following the program.
Very good, very good.
So, I wish them well in their future endeavors.
And finally, the last question is, how did you feel, ultimately, our good friend Bubba the Love Sponge's wrestling career turned out?
I thought he overachieved himself. I don't think he didn't have the talent to get as far as he did, and I'm happy that it's over, and I guess he's got boo-boo face about it. But, he had no respect for the business, and he thought that he was a star, and he found out that he was a little fish in a little pond down there, and like most guppies do, he swam out the drain and got eaten by a frog.
There you go. All righty.
I keep waiting for Awesome Kong to hunt him down.
Sorry, what was that, Pat?
Oh, I keep waiting for Awesome Kong to just hunt him down and eat him or something. That would make my day if I found that out on the news line.
That Awesome Kong took him out for real? Oh.
Yeah, oh God, that would be hilarious. Well, she already did.
Awesome Kong versus Bubba the Love Sponge on pay-per-view with the proceeds going to Haiti.
That would be interesting. Well, I'm going to let you go, but I did want to say one thing, and this is not blowing smoke because I've been complimenting a lot of people of late, but that's because we've actually been interviewing people I like, and that is I just got in the mail the entire 1992 set of Smoky Mountain Wrestling on DVD, and I've been going through this stuff like a kid through a candy store, and I just wanted to say,
and how in the world how did you get that? Because someone sold it to you, and I want a percentage. No, I'm kidding.
It's you should see. This is no joke. I have a loft in my house. We have a 4,000 square house. It's a beautiful big place, and in the loft in the house, we actually have a wall with floor-to-ceiling bookcases and nothing but DVDs and wrestling tapes and all that. We are a dedicated wrestling family. I'll say that. So
you liked 1992?
I liked 1992. That was a good year.
Well, actually, you got to get 1993, but 93 was the best year, I think. Most fun, at least. You
think so?
94 was bigger business, but I think 93 overall was cooler.
Very cool. All right.
We had with the Bluegrass Brawl. We had the great program with Bob Armstrong, and myself during the summertime. Terry Funk came in the fall.
Awesome. I'll have to.
Thanksgiving Thunder.
Very awesome. Well, I'll tell you what. I got a lot of things to look forward to.
I'm drumming up business for some guy. I don't even know who's selling the stuff, but I'm drumming up business for him. But yeah, check it out. And check out JimCornette.com for my rookie year, 1982-83, because you'll see stuff that nobody's ever seen before.
Very cool. Well, I got to tell you, I also have some of your garbage tapes that you put out there too, and that's cool stuff to see too. So. All right, well, Jim.
I'm soon to come out with a line of training videos for you can be a CPA and lawnmower repairman at home. But anyway, thanks guys, I appreciate it, and I will see everybody at the roast this Friday, where I supposedly get mine.
Okay, hopefully you'll fare very well with that one. I'm sure they're going to be bringing up White Castle YouTube videos and the whole lot. So there you go.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
You take care, sir. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. And that was good old James E. Cornette, one James to another here on WrestlingEpicenter.com. And I got to say this, Nick. I'm surprised. I'm surprised you stood up to a guest.
You got a set, man. I personally wasn't going to say anything about the Ring of Honor product because I admittedly don't follow it as closely as I should.
I do, but not as much. I think I'm with Pat on that. I think I do follow it, but not as closely as I should because, frankly, I don't get HDNet. So if there's one up for if I do get if there's one up for download, I grab it. But if there's not, I can't. So.
What I was going to say is, if I did have a major problem with the product, I sure as hell wasn't going to bring it up to Jim Cornette, but holy shit, dude.
I know! I never say anything on these interviews, and the first time in months I choose to say something, it has to be negative, and I have to go out after a man that's blown up in parking lots and slap fans. Probably a lot more than I'll ever be.
There you go, yeah. Well, I'll give you credit, dude. You said what you were thinking, and you know what? I give you credit for that. That's good for you.
Hey, if Eric Clancy can go one-on-one with Armando Estrada, I think,
What was that about again? What was the whole deal about that again? Did anybody know?
Well, I remember
it. Eric went on a rant about Triple H, and Armando had just called into the show, but you hadn't opened up his line yet. So he heard Eric's rant before he officially came on the air.
He's trying to tell him, look, take it easy. He was on the news, by the way, the other day, Armando Estrada. Apparently his restaurant here is doing very well for itself, and he's opening more in the area.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. Former wrestler does good. And I'm like, what the hell is this going to be now? But
What, do you think it was going to be a story about someone coming out of rehab or something?
Probably. Reed Flair was in rehab here for the better part of a year, here in Scottsdale.
When the hell was this?
Last year. I probably shouldn't have said that. I was kind of told it in confidence. But yeah, Reed Flair has had his troubles, which has stunted his growth in the business.
Oh, Reed Flair. I thought you said you read Flair.
No, Reed. R-E-I-D, I believe it's spelled.
All right. Well, I heard that. I was like, so what? Did they let him out of rehab to go work the TNA tapings?
They would explain a lot.
And I'll say this, I'll admit this, I was not a fan of Impact last week before the Glory show, but I'll admit I was wrong. I thought the Foley Flair match was pretty good.
It was pretty good. It just was a bloodbath. All right. We're going to do, I don't know what intro we did this week, guys, because I was trying to figure out, as well as Patrick, what the hell was going on with Blog Talk. We had a little bit of Blog Talk problem. But we're going to do two shows this week. We're going to do one tonight, which is what you guys are hearing now, and we're going to do one tomorrow night with our special guest of Mick Foley.
Bang, bang.
Bang, bang! Yeah. So that's the plan going forward. Now, tonight I thought we could talk a little bit about TNA and go over Impact, which I watched intently, and Bound for Glory, which I literally just watched 2 hours ago. So
okay, I have not watched Bound for Glory, so you all are gonna. I did read the results, so I can comment on those.
I got positives and negatives on both, and I also watched Raw this week, so I don't want Nick to think that I'm going to be negative on TNA and praise and knock, only just TNA. I did watch Raw this week, and you know what? I got things to say about both companies. So where do we want to start?
Well, I guess let's start with Impact since that came first, and then we can move to Bound for Glory, which is the bigger show.
There you go. Okay.
Okay.
I did, like I said, I did watch Impact, and overall, I thought it was a solid go-home show. But I had a couple.
Oh wow, you're a lot nicer than me.
Yeah, I mean, it was. My biggest problems with the show stupidly revolve around the storytelling aspect of it, which I think a lot of it lays on the lap of Taz and Mike Tenay, and that is just my perspective. But they completely blew and missed the ending of the Last Man Standing match. They did.
I want to go back and rewatch that because I want to see if that was. I remember them making that call. It was like, oh, I didn't know that was a count. It's like, wow, that's bad. But I thought maybe it had something to do with the camera angle. They couldn't tell that the ref was counting. So I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll see.
What it was both guys were down. The story was essentially the end of Rocky, which is ironic because you got into a conversation with Mick last week about Rocky. So they're both down. They're both getting up.
Yeah.
Which should have been foretelling of what the Last Man Standing match was going to be like. But Mick is getting up in the corner. They're not talking about the fact that Mick is getting up. And the referee's counting as well, and Flair's still getting up. Now, Flair did one of his, if you've ever played NES Punch-Out, either the Mike Tyson or the non-Mike Tyson because he raped a chick version.
Oh!
That's not a shot at Mike Tyson. It's the truth. When that game was originally released in '88, it was called Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. They re-released it in '91 without Mike Tyson's title on it because they wanted to get away from Mike Tyson and the stigma of what he was in jail for.
I know this, but I'm just saying you didn't really have to bring it up.
Yes, you did. It's funny.
But yeah, if you've ever played it, when you beat up the first guy, I think it's Gabby J or whatever the hell his name is. He's just an old-timer, gray hair. Looks like he's been beaten up his whole life. Basically the guy I've always been comparing Flair to. Flair did one of the things where he gets up, does a turn on his toe and does a Flair flop face first at count of 9. The referee doesn't count his standing up as standing up because he was so out of it. That's the end of the count. Standing 8 count, basically, flop.
Right. Oh.
They completely missed the call, and it really did damage the match because, I got what they were going for, but I can't imagine that, and you're going to hate to hear this, Nick, but I have to believe that if Vince McMahon was in their headsets screaming at them at the time, they would have gotten the story right.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to surprise you here, James.
What's that?
One of the nitpicks I do have about TNA is sometimes I feel Taz and Tenay are too busy trying to get over their little jokes, their little, ooh, right in the yam bags, or, man, he looked like Lawrence Taylor on that one, little reference, and I think sometimes it does cost the match. Mm-hmm. I don't think you have to go Vince McMahon on them and be screaming and calling them complete and utter incompetent boobs, but I do believe somebody in the production truck, hopefully maybe Bruce Pritchard, now that he started with TNA, can get on them and be like, look, call the goddamn match. Because I actually will agree with you, I missed the end of it. And ladies and gentlemen, if I, Mr. TNA fanatic, Mr. Titsdale, like I'm at church, trying to avoid the hellfire, is missing something in TNA, you got to believe that I'm willing to bet that most of the more casual fans are missing. It actually took me kind of rewatching on DVR to realize, Oh, Foley got up first, but Flair went down at 8.
Right. Flair
Technically, if both men stood up, shouldn't the count go away?
Well, yes, but there's a standing 8 count in boxing, where even if you're standing, the referee goes and checks you. And I think that's what they were going for, because Flair was all like bewildered. So Flair, even though he got to his feet, he wasn't steady on his feet, and then did the Flair flop into the tacks.
Right.
So they were doing
I never do hardcore. I didn't do that stuff.
Did Pat O'Connor ever do hardcore? Ray Stevens? Bruiser Brody. Actually, yes, he did. But never mind. You know, and all I kept thinking during that entire rant was, he's dead. He's dead too. So, well, you know, they were dead before that stuff was really invented. But way before Savage was doing chicken wire cage matches and getting pile driving Ricky Morton through a table. You know, and I do.
Some of those old school chicken wire cage matches. Those are pretty interesting.
Savage was, you know what? We mentioned in our interview with Savage, the first one, and I gave him credit. I said, look, I think you were the one who invented hardcore, because in '82 you're pile driving Ricky Morton through a table. Nobody was doing that then.
No.
And then when Flair and Funk did it in '89, everybody thought it was the most original thing they've ever seen. Well, Savage was doing it 7 years prior.
Right, but to be fair, I think Flair and Funk were kind of the first ones to do it on a nationally televised show in lieu of a locally televised show. Right,
theirs was in. Theirs was.
It's the ECW thing. It's the ECW thing where most of the stuff you saw in the Attitude Era of the WWF had been done in ECW, but it was being done on a much grander scale.
Right. I mean, and it's the same with the Beautiful People's ring entrance, to take it back to ECW. You know, that's pretty much Dawn Marie and Francine started doing that stuff with the bending over the ropes like that, and then WWE chicks started doing it, and the Beautiful People, you know, that's kind of their whole shtick now.
They did to the extreme.
Yeah. I don't know, Francine used to bounce on the rope, which kept me rolling around in my sheets at one time. But there you go.
Oh.
Well, it's hard to sleep. And when at 11 o'clock at night the main event comes on and some chick in a short green dress wearing a green thong is bouncing around on a black rope, it's kind of like, ooh.
Look, I agree with you, but it's kind of like the Mike Tyson thing. Sometimes you don't need to go there.
I still give Cena credit for calling.
People, they were involved. If we want to go back to Impact, the Beautiful People were involved in that tag match where I felt, and I know James will agree with me, they kind of blew Mickie James' debut there by showing her before the commercial.
Right, and this is all negatives, and I don't want to sound like we're just going to be negative Nelly, but
I might.
Yeah, they bring her out, getting out of a car backstage with a stuttering cameraman going, Mickie James, what are you doing here? And it's like, okay, you just blew your surprise by having her come out. Nobody really gave a shit what she was doing there. They just wanted to know that she was there. So they should have just had her come out in front of the live crowd, let the crowd pop, because they would have, even bigger if they didn't know, I think anyway. And let that be the moment. Instead, they gave us, a moment that didn't mean anything. And I liken it back to Bischoff's debut in WWF.
Yes.
WWE.
Exactly.
Where it's like, okay, he's backstage, we know he's there, so who the hell really gives a shit now that he's going to walk out into the arena?
I can understand that point, and I guess this is just me trying to defend TNA. But I will say this, I can understand back to the Bischoff thing, where what they probably were hoping would be people start calling or tweeting or Facebook posting, Mickie James just showed up in TNA. Oh, she's going to come out next. I guess that would be the hope that they would put that before a commercial break, give people the chance to get that information out there somehow, and hopefully somebody who maybe wasn't watching the show would say, oh, really, Mickie James? Or, oh, hey, Eric Bischoff.
Yeah, I could see that might be what they're going for, but there was a episode of Thunder in 2000. It was Savage's last appearance for WCW. There was a big battle royal. A car pulled up, the door opened, and for some reason, the camera just panned to his feet. And you just watched his feet in like a split screen walking through the arena, through the curtain, until he walked through the curtain, and then they panned to the hard cam, and you saw him coming to the ring, and the crowd went apeshit. You didn't know who it was, unless you know Savage's walk, which, if you haven't figured it out, he's kind of got his own distinct walk, so you might have figured it out before then, but still. And to me, if you're going to do that kind of car stuff, you have to maybe show that a car shows up, or do the foot thing, or something like that, which will give, because it's Mickey James, you get the foot fetish freaks, something to look forward to, and I don't know. Do something other than giving it away backstage, because that always bothered me, like, oh, the NWO shows up in a limousine. Great. Do something with it. I mean, it just seemed kind of unimportant.
It's like matchmaking backstage. Nobody really cares.
Yeah.
Like, you'll see, and it's mostly WWE that does these long backstage segments where they talk about making matches. I'm like, look, the process of matchmaking really isn't that interesting, so do we really need to see it? And shouldn't the matches be made already?
In theory, if you're a professional product, but I don't know.
No, see, what happens is they send the computer, they write it, but there's such a delay in the way the email processors work nowadays that the matches don't arrive until showtime.
Now, speaking of things where you probably shouldn't have said them, Taz calling Orlando Jordan's attitude, quote, flaming, end quote. It probably is not the best choice of words.
You're one to talk.
Hey, you are on fire tonight. I like it.
Well, I mean, I think I've got a leg to stand on this one, though. I don't know. By the way, I like Eric Young's character because he desperately needed to go back to being goofy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like when you go back to what you were doing 4 years ago, it's just a sign that the writers have no idea what to do with you.
They tried to give it an explanation where Suicide kicked him off the top rope and he hit his head.
I think it has to be, he's got to go back to it, unfortunately, because I just don't think that the serious stuff with him wasn't working. 1 week he's anti-American, the next week he's a good guy, the next week he's paired with Nash, the next week he's not paired with Nash, and it's just kind of like,
Nash is leaving TNA. Supposedly he filmed his last stuff today.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. And I like Nash, but, dude, you really weren't offering anything toward the end there. Especially
he looked very slow at the at Bound for Glory, but then he's an older guy. I mean, cut him some slack. He's had some problems too. Hey, you know what?
Well,
I will say this though. Why is it while I'm watching these promo videos where they're like standing in the shower? You know, Nick probably knows what I'm talking about. They're all standing there with their hair wet. Sting is supposedly standing there in a leather jacket getting rained upon, and I'm just thinking, I'm thinking of a Whitesnake song, Crying in the Rain. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I don't know. WWE's guilty of it, too. They do silly shit like that, though. So.
Yeah, well,
didn't Brock Lesnar F5 a shark or something?
Yeah, no. He did, yeah. This is a SummerSlam commercial.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just that for whatever reason, they think that it's, WWE has like the ones now that they do where you see it a lot for the Raw commercials where they're in like a mansion. I think they're hoping it looks dramatic. It's the stuff they do a lot for the whole introduction to the show. Like, this is TNA. And that's what James does. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I always thought that if I was doing one of those, I'd feel kind of ridiculous just standing in like a studio with a airplane headlight behind me, having somebody drop water on my head.
I'm sure some of them do feel very ridiculous.
I'm sure they do. I mean, Nash looked really weird though because he looked like the Cowardly Lion was stuck in the rain.
By the way, pick up Mick Foley's book if you want some Wizard of Oz references.
Yeah. Some Wizard of Oz references, some Santa Claus references, Christmas Canyon references, a very long story about meeting Tori Amos.
That was actually my favorite chapter in the book.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. So, yeah, I mean, other than that, I'll give Flair credit. That was a good match that he had, and I enjoyed it. Impact for the most part, but it just kind of, I don't know. And then Mickey being spelt wrong, back on the Mickey train. They wrote M-I-C-K-E-Y on her hard cam video.
M-O-U-S-E.
M-I-C-K-E-Y.
And she made a mistake. She made a flub. She called Madison Rayne the TNA Knockouts champion, which wasn't true.
Yeah. It probably thought their logo wasn't on her clothes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long she's going to be there. And I didn't get that much of an impression while doing the interview with her that she had that bad of an attitude. I think all women do, to some degree, have some kind of an attitude. And men do, too.
Oh, my
but I
God.
think women...
Okay, Bugs Bunny reference, because I've been watching a lot of Looney Tunes lately. There's a cartoon where he's fighting a witch named Witch Hazel. And at the end of the cartoon, something backfires on her, and she winds up, her magic turns her into a girl bunny that Bugs is attracted to. So he walks off with the girl bunny into the sunset, and he's like, yeah, I know, but deep down, aren't they all witches underneath? I was like, thank you, Bugs.
Yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, next week, Patrick Kelly will be single again. James Walsh will probably be in the middle of a divorce proceeding.
And, yeah, no, I stand by what I said. It's somewhat true.
Yeah.
She's denying the story. She's denying the story, yeah. I mean, we'll get into that. But that is just, it just seems to me like she didn't come off as a very clean-cut babyface in the promo, because she kind of had an attitude even in the promo. And that could have stemmed the rumors, if they are untrue, of her having an attitude backstage. But who knows?
Well, who knows? The problem is with, internet reporting is that, for all we know, she showed up, and that had been a request of hers before the pay-per-view, and then they handed her to the referee, and she thought she was going to wear like a Mickey James T-shirt, like something for her country album, and then they handed her the referee shirt, and she was like, oh, I thought my logo was that part of the stories, and she made reference to her logo, and then next thing we know, the whole story got barreled out of control, and...
By the way, is it just me or does Mickey James' theme song sound like Pour Some Sugar on Me?
I like to pour some sugar on your
song.
What's that again, Nick?
What website?
Nick, I lost you. What'd you say?
Well, what website are you asking about?
Her theme song. Her theme song sounds like Pour Some Sugar on Me.
Like I said, I'm not sure because it's been a long time since I've heard that song.
Oh, okay.
Now, here's something I don't get. Why doesn't she sing the theme song?
She does sing the theme song.
I think she does at some point. I think it starts off with the whole guy going, I've gone country, and then eventually she starts singing.
It's kind of her trading off, and I think it's the guy who does, I don't know if it's Dale Oliver or if it's the guy who sings some of the DNA stuff, but we'll have to hear the whole song. When I heard the intro, it just sounded very, step inside, walk this way, you and me, babe, hey, hey. And then they start singing Pour Some Sugar on Me. For some reason, that's what comes into my head every single time I hear it, which is twice now. So,
well, sir, you're perpetually lost in 80s hair metal.
Yeah, I don't really like Def Leppard that much, but yeah, I got to admit, you're probably right about that.
Yeah.
I assume we want to get to Bound for Glory here, but one thing I do want to comment on Impact, I didn't like how the Gauntlet didn't have a countdown timer.
They were taking it from the World Cup because apparently there's no clocks required. We'll just play until the referees say we don't play anymore.
I'm going to assume I'm going to assume that maybe the graphic department screwed up or something.
Perhaps. Because it just felt like people were coming out at random.
Yeah.
And another thing, and that's another thing I wanted to get back to on Cole. I almost said Cole. By the way, he sucks too, but we'll get to that tomorrow, I think.
People like him. You go on the internet, they think he's great.
He's fucking horrible. He's the worst thing that's ever happened ever. But
what's the Holocaust?
He's up there with it.
Oh.
By the way, I don't know who invented or who told R-Truth that it was cool to use the phrase crunked anymore, but I'm pretty sure that was the going phrase. In fact, I'm positive of it, of the hairy-knuckled steroid users of my high school football team that never won a game. He's like, oh, I was so crunked, and that was in 97. So it's a dated reference to begin with, and it was stupid then. It's even more stupid now.
Well, James.
Is that his new song? Because I haven't heard his new song. I'm sure
James, so that's the story of R-Truth's career. He was stupid then, and he's even more stupid now.
Yeah. Don't give him an idea. He'll take a line out of a Forrest Gump song, and he'll make it stupid is what stupid sings.
Oh, yeah, you can get with this, or you can get with that. Whatever is stupid is that what stupid sings. Yeah.
Oh. So, I'm pretty sure at some point in that What's Up song, he just starts going, wiggity, 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 wiggity. Because I don't know what the hell he's saying.
So in other words, the odds
of that are changed.
Pretty much null and void.
What's that again?
So, in other words, someday, though, I expect we will interview R-Truth, much like you guys bashed Tori Wilson for years, and eventually you did do an interview with her.
Well, and I'll give Cassie credit for that. She actually wrote most of those questions.
Yeah, I'll say this, after talking to Tori Wilson, I felt so bad about saying bad things about her. I still don't think she was that good of a performer, but she was such a sweetheart.
Well, I think
so sweet.
I think it was kind of a case of, hey, we got this job on wrestling. I don't know if I want to do that. Well, 3 million people watch it every week. Really? Yeah. And we're going to pay you $65,554 per appearance to come on TV and pretend to be a hooker for some 19-year-old. All right.
Oh.
That was her first storyline, right? She was David Flair's hooker.
She was David Flair's hooker, who apparently was good at gunshots. They did some weird-ass segment 2 weeks after she debuted where she's on a shooting range with a gun with David Flair. And I'm thinking, I don't know about you, but if I just got bossed a high-priced hooker, I wouldn't give her a gun. Just saying.
I don't want to bash WCW here, but those segments were the most bizarre things in pro wrestling history.
And that was that's one of Nash's bad ideas. The concept was, let's do an hour of variety shows and backstage segments before we start in the arena. Because this way we'll start in the arena the same time as Raw, but we'll have told stories already going into the show.
Oh. But what I'm talking more about the segments where Tori debuted, and we were seeing, I guess, David Flair's perspective, and, you know, she'd be looking right at the camera and flirting, and I can understand they wanted to keep the identity of whoever she was doing this with a secret. But on the other hand, it was just so bizarre, because, I mean, you're looking right at the camera, and I'm like, is this some bizarre movie where we're seeing things through David Flair's eyes?
That was weird, and then the announcers pretended they didn't see what they were seeing, and I don't know, it was just, that was a bizarre time. They were trying new stuff, and it wasn't working. But my initial point about...
You know what was even weirder? The night where Kane lost his mask in that match to Triple H, and they showed a segment with him looking into a mirror, And Kane's like thinking, and then they actually put like a graphic around, like a pink fog or something around the screen to make it look like that we're seeing inside Kane's mind. And they showed like flashbacks to when he first debuted and when he won his first title and things like that. And they wanted to give off the impression that we were seeing inside Kane's mind.
That doesn't get talked about. But Hogan arguing with the mirror that the Ultimate Warrior appeared in '98 is brought up a lot as insane. So, yeah. But my original comment was going to be Mike Tenay and Taz commenting on that Battle Royal did not really get across. The story was these guys didn't have to participate in the Battle Royal. They were invited to do so. Now, because they used that verbiage, it would have made a lot of sense for a heel to have walked halfway down the aisle, said, you know what do I stand to gain from this, and walked away.
$100,000.
Oh, I guess you're right. I forgot about the money aspect of it, yeah. But you also had to, that was not a good way to do it either, because you're trying to sell the point that these guys are all going to go at it at the pay-per-view, right?
Right.
Well, if they're going at it on Thursday night before the pay-per-view, I don't know, it's supposed to whet your appetite, like an appetizer towards buying the pay-per-view, but in reality, to me, it just...
Before on the show. Yeah, we talked about this before on the show about, like, giving away them fighting each other and facing off with each other before the pay-per-view. And in this match, you basically had everybody on the pay-per-view interacting with everybody.
And it just seems like too much, and both companies are guilty of it. But it just seemed to me like, I don't know, that was kind of weird. And then the start of Bound for Glory, if we're going to transition into that, when WrestleMania starts, Jim Ross is screaming, "Welcome to WrestleMania!" And again, Tenay, his intro to Bound for Glory was kind of like Bert from Sesame Street. "Hi, everybody." It just was kind of lackluster. It didn't feel like it was, oh my God, I'm tuning into the Super Bowl.
Now, I will say this about Bound for Glory. I have seen screen caps of the show. That set looked cool.
That was an awesome set. That was a very, very cool set. Absolutely.
I love having the 3 screens where they could show different guys' videos and do different video shots as they were coming down. Just kind of, I think, the coolest that I've seen TNA do in a long time.
Oh, yeah. That was, from a production standpoint, that was a giant step forward for them, and that was great to see. And the Guns and Generation Me was awesome. I mean, that was a great way to start the show. I don't think I would have started it any other way. So I do give them credit for that. But I will say this, though, putting the Knockouts title match next after that kind of made the follow-up to that seem kind of lackluster.
Well, sometimes that's the problem. I mean, I think any match coming after that would have suffered, especially when you're talking real early in the card where, for the most part, wrestling shows, the opening match is, supposed to be, that thing that gets everyone real excited. And for the most part, though, the really big, meaty, the matches you put the most build into, the matches that have the most, importance later on in the night or for the future of the company come at the end of the night, with, whether you're talking, Savage and Steamboat, coming, midway through WrestleMania or, just an example of Bound for Glory, which was Rob Van Dam and Abyss. That stuff comes, later on in the night. So I think any match is going to suffer after that, after those two teams went head-to-head.
And I think you're right. I mean, did you feel as I did, though, that the opening match was just really, really good?
Oh, absolutely. I said it on the show last week. I said if there's an award for MVP of TNA in terms of the best matches over the last couple of months, I think you have to give it to the Motor City Machine Guns. I mean, from the feud they've had with Generation Me and this feud, the feud they had with Beer Money, I mean, they've been, rolling and just putting on great matches, and topping themselves pretty much every time out there, and there is no reason to end this run yet. And I will repeat that many times in the upcoming weeks.
Okay. And up next was Eric Young, and we've already kind of really covered up and brushed over this, but Eric Young and Orlando Jordan against Ink Inc. in their rematch from Impact, and solid match. Nothing really that special. I do enjoy the story, and there is a case here where the announcing I'm going to actually praise. I think Taz and TNA were actually very funny in this match, and when Taz called Eric Young's offense very Midnight Rocker-ish, and TNA broke out laughing, I actually, had to break out laughing too, because it was pretty funny and accurate, so what are you going to do?
I liked this match for what it was. I mean, if you people were expecting this to top the Motor City Machine Guns and Jen Me, you're nuts, but it didn't have a place on the card. I mean, this match was added at the last minute on Impact, on Thursday, and, I'll say it, these two teams haven't appeared on Impact in weeks, or at all, I think in Young and Orlando Jordan's case beforehand, so I can understand the whole argument of, they're trying to get as many people as they can on the card, but it's also like, couldn't you do like a battle royal or something, or just leave it off the card? Because, like I said, I liked this match. It was a nice little comedy break for the night, but it was also like, really, this is on the biggest show of the year?
I enjoyed the sorry, go ahead, Pat.
I was going to say, that's how I saw it when the match was signed. I was like, wait a minute, these four guys, especially Eric Young and Orlando Jordan, they haven't really been featured at all in months. Like, I forgot Orlando Jordan was even with the company. So when they signed this match for Bound for Glory, I was just sitting there scratching my head like, where the hell did this come from?
I think the odd couple thing could actually work for them, though, and I do think that for a comedy break, it is a good thing. And who knows, if they are able to do what they're not able to do so much of the time, and that's both companies, and break away from the comedy a little bit, even though they keep that as an element of it, I think these guys could actually be a good tag team, because individually, right now, they're both kind of lost in the shuffle. Right. So together, maybe they could do something. Jay Lethal, up next, defended the X Division Championship against Doug Williams. And it was a good match.
I really enjoyed this match. I liked, I love these two guys. So, getting to see them have a match, that was really fun. I know there's some criticism for them switching the title, on an Impact. I think the reason they did that was that both Lethal was going to be on the house show tour, and they wanted to kind of pump up those house shows and have people say, wow, I was at the New York house show and I saw Amazing Red win the X Division title. And someone could say, hey, wow, I just went to the New Jersey TNA house show, and it's really cool because Jay Lethal won the belt back. And it was kind of cool because, I remember Jay when he was in Jersey All-Pro and he was just starting out, Right. So, I hurt the build to this match. I really enjoyed kind of the story that they were trying to tell where, Williams is just hitting all these, suplexes and, complicated wrestling moves, and he can't get the job done, so finally he gets frustrated, and he goes out of his element, which is he goes for a top rope Hurricane Rana, and lo and behold, that bites him in the ass because Lethal knows how to roll through on it. 1, 2, 3, Lethal retains his title.
Exactly, and that's an example of Taz and TNA doing an excellent job of announcing it and really telling that story, and they actually did say that, which impressed me. And again, for all the flack that I've given them so far, that was a great example of doing a good job. So, I'm not going to shit on them all the time, but they did right, and that was an example of doing right. I'm going to try and rush this here, guys.
I will say that I am one. Yeah, I will say, as far as commenting on this match, I'm one of the people who feels that they should not have taken the title off of Douglas Williams before Bound for Glory and just let him go into the show as the X Division champion. But not much I can do about that now.
Exactly, and I think it would have meant more had he won the belt at the show. Right. A couple of quick things here, guys. I'm going to have to run in a sec. But Rob Van Dam beating Abyss, I thought that needed to happen. I mean, Rob Van Dam needed to save face, and he needed to beat Abyss. The only negative on that is Abyss talking to the camera after losing, saying 10-10-10, they're coming. Or 10-10-10, we're coming, actually, he said. Now, that's kind of like, I don't know, kind of like flirting after, I don't know. It seemed to me like it was kind of deflated by the fact that he just lost.
Right, I agree with you on the one complaint I have with this match is the lack of blood. And I can maybe understand the thought process is, well, we have the lethal lockdown, and pretty much everyone's going to bleed in that. We don't want to have, too much blood on the show, but on the other hand, it's like, this is a monster's ball. This is a match that's built around the idea of Rob Van Dam had his flesh torn off. There needs to be blood in this match. Whether maybe they should have moved it earlier in the night, so there'd be more distance. I don't know. I would have liked more blood, and I'm not saying that this makes or breaks the match. I enjoy the match. It's kind of the same thing we talk about with WWE, where they're like, oh, well, we're PG, so it doesn't matter if it's a hardcore match. Nobody's going to bleed.
Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, they did. Abyss kind of was spitting up blood at the end of it, but not,
It can Shamrock disease.
Yeah. Alrighty. And next was the beginning of the They coming into fruition, where Joe was left high and dry by Jarrett against Sting, Nash, and the Pope. And I enjoyed it for what it was, again, but again, Nash got to beat Joe at the end of the match, and if Nash is leaving, I didn't quite get that decision, but...
Yeah, you think they would have given that to Pope. I guess it doesn't matter because he was getting gang raped by 3 guys, but
still let Pope get the pinfall.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, if Nash is leaving, you don't want to... Even though Joe has a win over like 65 guys in a stupid-ass match when he was wearing the tribal gear, I think he beat Steiner, Booker T, and Nash in one match, but still, I don't know. I kind of felt like maybe Nash shouldn't have been the one to get the pin. Okay, and then the main event happened, and it was the
Lethal Lockdown
was next. Lethal Lockdown was next. Yeah, that was the EV2 getting the win over against Fortune, and again, I'm not sure about that decision, booking wise.
I think it was and I'll say this, I mean, it was a big show. They've been doing this feud for months. I think they want to move on from it. Well, the way they've kind of portrayed this Fortune EV2 feud is, that EV2 wants revenge. They're not going away until they get revenge. Well, you can't really do that and then have them lose a big match and just say, okay, we lost, later.
Yeah.
I think it was the whole, big show, it basically goes over, especially seeing to the main event, you send the fans home happy with the main event.
But you know what? I'm going to disagree with you here. Having 2 heel factions in and of itself is going to make one of them take a lesser, and because Hogan and Bischoff are involved in one of them, then it's clear which one's going to get more attention. So Fortune already is getting put on the back burner push-wise, because, there can't be 2 heel gangs at the top. One has to be more powerful than the other. And I think having them lose the match to a bunch of guys who probably aren't going to be there next week is not a good idea.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't give them any real leg to stand on. Like, oh, we're Fortune. Well, what the hell does that mean? You got beat by a bunch of old ECW bums.
Well, I mean, I guess the side of it could be that, you had Kendrick get involved, and then also, I mean, Dreamer, had to pull out, had to do a Tommy driver off the top rope onto a chair, so it wasn't like, oh wow, he just PH'd you easily. He had to pull out this big kill shot move.
Yeah, I guess. And of course the main event, and I'm going to have to go here in a sec, guys, but the main event was the big surprise with Jeff Hardy turning heel, Hogan turning heel, and basically doing this whole thing. And to me, it was okay. I don't really think I got the whole thing as much as everybody else seems to have. Obviously, they're the they, but everybody's comparing it to the Bash of the Beast thing, and just because it happened in the same location and involved a heel turn doesn't mean that it's the same. I don't know, it just didn't have that kind of feel to me. It kind of left me more, oh, so Hardy's a heel now. That's interesting. I'm probably going to tune in on Thursday to see what the hell is going on, but it wasn't the same effect that Bash at the Beach 96 had, where it's like, oh my God, what the hell just happened?
I'll tell you what it reminded me of. And I mean this in a bad way, and it's why I kind of have doubts about how this Hardy heel turn is going to go. It reminded me of WrestleMania 17 when Austin turned heel, and it was a shock. Nobody saw that coming. But at the TV following WrestleMania, you could see that they really didn't have a whole lot of logic or explanation behind it. It was just, let's just turn him heel for the shock of turning him heel. And it didn't work. And I still argue that was one of the worst heel turns of all time and one of the worst decisions WWF could have possibly made at the time.
I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, and with the whole Hardy heel turn, I have my doubts that, I mean, again, we'll find out on Impact, and it's got me interested for now, but we'll see how it goes. I do have my doubts. And I also have my doubts in Hardy as a performer and whether or not he'll actually be able to pull it off.
And I'll leave you with this, guys. And I'm going to leave you with this, and you guys can finish up. My concern with it is not how it got started, because I do think that on Impact they're going to pull something out that'll make it seem extra special. But my problem with it is how they follow it through. And I'll reference the Kings of Wrestling, and I'll reference the way ultimately the $1 Million Mafia, main event Mafia, played out. This has to go somewhere. There has to be a conclusive beginning and ending and a solid story that goes along with it. It can't just be that's kind of cool, and then just fizzle away. It has to have some kind of story behind it. All right. And I'll leave you with that.
Well, the main event Mafia did end.
Yeah, right. I mean, it did have an ending, and that was AJ winning the belt, and then Angle's match with Morgan, and Angle saying, okay, I realize it now. I do respect these younger guys. And as for my thoughts on Hardy, I'm actually going to disagree with people, and I'm going to say it was the one move that actually I think could have made the pay-per-view still special, because we kind of all knew, okay, they is coming, and that's going to require something big is going to happen, and probably there's going to be some type of, big heel turn. I like Kurt Angle. I'm a big Kurt Angle fan. But we've seen Kurt Angle as a heel a million times, and we've seen him as the heel running the whole company before. And again, I like Anderson, but we've seen him as a heel before. Hardy, there is the most potential to be fresh. The fact that, oh my God, this guy's never been a heel. This guy, everyone could see Kurt Angle, selling his soul to the devil to get another title run. I mean, this was a guy saying, if I don't win, I'm going to retire. So you could see him being that desperate, he would do it. But, Jeff Hardy, everybody's favorite wrestler, the guy all the little girls scream over, has now turned heel. It's like, wow, I didn't see that coming. And, I'm not saying it's going to be the ultimate effect of, the most perfect storyline ever told, but I think it's fresh. I'm actually going to disagree with you on WrestleMania 17. In hindsight, it didn't work, but that was the way it was written afterwards. Austin being babyface for another year and doing the whole, I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin, I drink beer, I kick ass, and you know what, if you do anything to me, I'm going to burn your fucking house down the next week. That was dead. That was old. And I feel the same way with Hardy, where it's like, this guy's been a babyface, for close to 15 years. If any one guy kind of needs a heel turn to maybe freshen him up, it might be Jeff, and we'll have to see how he falls through. Now, I could be very wrong, and he doesn't perform it well enough that people are going to buy it. But, sometimes you got to roll the dice. You got to take a risk, and I think there's an opportunity here.
Yeah, I agree with you that out of the three, Hardy's the most interesting for a heel turn. And I think revealing that they were Hogan and Bischoff is kind of underwhelming, because I think most of us predicted that. Once it came out that it was not EV2 and it wasn't Fortune, it was pretty obvious. It was like, well, it has to be Hogan and Bischoff. Who the hell else can it be? And that was a couple of months ago. So this was like the nice surprise that made it seem different. And again, it's all up to, A, whether or not Hardy's able to pull it off. And like I said, I have my doubts, but we'll see. And B, the writing that goes into it. Now, an Austin heel turn could have worked following WrestleMania 17, but the problem was the writing. And they didn't, in my opinion, they didn't give us a good reason for why Austin would suddenly do a complete 180 and become a completely different character. and tap out at the drop of a hat and cry because Kurt Angle abducted him and things like that. You can do those kind of changes, but you have to give me a good reason why and develop the character in a way that makes sense. They're going to have to come up with a reason for why Jeff Hardy is doing this, and they're going to have to explain it really well. Again, that's something we'll just have to wait and see for Impact. I am deliberately avoiding the spoilers because I want to see what happens.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I do think that hurt. If we're going back to trying to talk about Austin, and I want to tie this into Hardy, is I do agree. They shouldn't have tried to make him such a different character. They needed to try to find a way to make him similar to Stone Cold Steve Austin, but make it a heel. And I have to agree with Jeff Hardy. If all of a sudden Jeff Hardy comes out with like styled hair and wearing a suit and, talking really clear and concise, that's not going to work. But if he kind of comes out and still kind of is, same old Jeff Hardy stuff and works it in a way where he kind of goes, you know what, I came to this company and I was here to take it to that next level and have fun and give all my creeps tonight, a ride to the top. But you know what? That didn't happen. All of a sudden, I see my so-called best friend Rob Van Dam getting all the opportunities, and all I hear on the message boards and all that is Jeff doesn't care, Jeff's lazy, Jeff this, Jeff that. If they do something like that, I think it can work.
Yeah, and I think that needs to be the reason. It's that he could never beat Rob Van Dam, and that's something which is true. All the times they faced off, he's never beaten Rob Van Dam, and he eventually got desperate and realized that he needed to eliminate RVD so he could have a clear run at the title. So there's your story right there.
Well, there's your story. I mean, I just found like the best thing at the beginning of the show. I find it funny that apparently Jim Cornette not in favor of a big heel turn, but he is in favor of a wrestler's father coming in. So apparently in order to make Jim Cornette happy, TNA should have brought in Kurt Angle's father or something.
Well, again, I give you major props for standing up to Cornette. So, we were supposed to go into Raw, but we've actually been off the air for a few minutes. This is actually going into the archives, and James is no longer with us, so I did not watch Raw, and I think the ratings seem to dictate that most people probably watched the Jets Vikings game.
Yeah. Well, I think what James actually wants to do is he wants to do, tonight was going to be like TNA Cornette. We were going to do the TNA show, we were going to review Bound for Glory and do Impact, and then tomorrow we're going to do Mick Foley, and we're going to then we're going to talk about Raw and whatever else is going on in the world of pro wrestling, and probably have a bunch of racist jokes and talk about football, and you guys will probably talk about that Big Bang show.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll work it in somehow, but
I'll be honest, I watched it, and I think I gave it a very fair chance. Not impressed.
Well, not every show's for everybody.
You know what? I don't think I like any of the really popular shows. Like, everyone always tells me how much True Blood is awesome and how I need to watch True Blood. I did. And to me, it just seems like naked Twilight.
That's how I felt while I watched it. I'm like, sure, the writing is better, and it's better, much better acting. Couldn't get much worse than Twilight. But it's basically Twilight.
It's Twilight, only you see them having sex.
Hooray.
Yeah, so. And I'm still a little amazed. I'm actually amazed that I did have to cut to friggin' say anything to Cornette.
Oh, I'm amazed too. I actually had to I kind of put the phone down. I'm like, oh, this is going to turn into a shouting match. No, it didn't. I was surprised. I thought Cornette was going to snap.
So did I. I actually posted on the Facebook. I said, I'm just amazed Cornette did not snap at me.
Yeah. You did something that I don't think anybody else has ever done. You had a civil conversation with Jim Cornette.
So I made history. I made wrestling.
You did.
Holy shit.
That's amazing, Nick.
I mean, look, and that might sound like I was trying to. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I was not trying to be one of those guys that does an interview and tries to get himself over. I kind of just wanted to ask him a few questions. I was trying to work to a point where I could ask him, okay, we know that you have something to do with the booking of ROH, and we know that you were involved with that. And Pierce, how much do you really have to do with the day-to-day booking, and who has the final veto power? You or the current booker, Delirious?
Alrighty, well, we're actually about 15 minutes over the limit here, and since we're going to save Raw for tomorrow night, I'm about ready to go. Unless there's anything you want to talk about, Nick?
You know what? There's nothing else we can talk about. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this on the archives, thank you, and don't forget to tune in at our regular time, where we're going to be joined by the hardcore legend, the hardcore icon, the multiple-time New York Times best-selling author, Mick Foley, and we'll review Raw, and we'll do kind of our normal thing around here.
And you know what? I'll do this tomorrow. Since we're having Mick Foley on, at the book signing, he told an amazing story about Jimmy Snuka that had me in stitches. And I'm not saying I could do it as well as Foley could. Maybe I can get Foley to retell the story on the interview. I'll try. But if not, I will tell the story tomorrow night.
You know what I'm now worried about? Like, I might get a little too big for my britches and try to say something to Foley, and it will be the polar opposite. He'll freak out on me.
I hope not.
That would be something. I have a civil conversation with Jim Cornette, who flips out on everybody, but I can make Mick Foley go nuts.
Nice. But, alrighty, I'm done for tonight. So for Nick Noel, and thank you to James Walsh for setting up the interview and the show, and thank you to James E. Cornette for coming on with us again. It's always a pleasure to have him on, and thank you to everybody for listening. So see you all tomorrow night. Later.